well, this happens, which causes this, and the whole story is linear, which gets boring.
In writing some of our scenes lately, we have realized that writing sometimes helps us understand our characters better rather than just the other way around. And so we're going to talk today a little bit about how, for each of our main characters, how the writing that we have been doing has helped us explore a little bit into their personality.
And again, this is a spoiler video, so we may be going a little bit deeper into some of the details than we normally would. My experience has been with Vanessa's first conversation, not her first conversation, but one of the conversations with the scientist from the future, and how we're thinking about a little bit about some misdirection in there, which was a relatively new experience for me.
And we're going to talk a little bit later on about how that misdirection is helpful for moving the story along. But the thing that I have been learning about in my writing is a little bit about Arnold's personality. I'm writing the scene about him talking with Reese, his friend, right after his initial interaction with Vanessa. And he's still processing that as he's going to lunch and starting talking with Reese. And we had described Reese in the past as Arnold's friend, Arnold's best friend, Arnold's only friend. But as I was writing the scene, it just kind of came out of my fingers that Reese was, I can't remember exactly how I put it, but something like the closest thing to a friend that Arnold had
That's right,
his freshman year, which wasn't really something I had really thought about until it just kind of came out on the screen. But then thinking back about it, I'm realizing, that might actually be accurate. We do know that Reese isn't a great friend. He is a little bit self-serving in that relationship at times, and the way he's trying to kind of use Arnold for his own personal benefit. But
you mean high schoolers can be self-serving?
Maybe, I'm not sure. But what we're really not sure of is how much does Arnold realize that, and if he does realize that, how much does Arnold actually care if Reese is really the closest thing he has to a friend? Does he really care if Reese is a little bit self-serving, or is it, this is the best I have, so I'll make the most of it? So that's something that I will want to explore just a little bit more, is as I write this scene from Arnold's perspective, how is he viewing Reese?
And in the scene that I was writing, Vanessa is processing what feels to her like a failure to accomplish something. She was supposed to figure out something with Arnold. Honestly, I'm not quite remembering where this happens in the timeline, what it was most recently that she was supposed to do and didn't quite do. And then the scientists from the future basically tell her that they're going to be cutting her training short. Her reaction is, oh, I'm being cut from the program. This thing that I thought I was part of, now, yet again, now I don't belong. And she's really processing that painfully. But what we get to learn after a few merciful paragraphs is that, no, she misunderstood. They're not cutting her from the program. They're just accelerating things, and she needs to be pulled into the future to keep going with what she's doing. And we've talked about that little detail of the story, but in writing it, I realized that there was an importance in allowing this little bit of misunderstanding and the misdirection, allowing the reader to believe along with Vanessa that her failure had a consequence and that she was going to be cut, and let them feel the emotion of rejection that she's feeling during that. And it not only allowed to make the story a little bit more interesting, put a little bit of texture and depth to it, it gave us a chance to look into how Vanessa processes things, better, deeper introduction to her character, and it gave us an opportunity to introduce the fact that as authors, we're allowed to misdirect a little bit and let the reader think that something is happening, only to find out later that we're wrong. As authors, or as I've been thinking through the story, it's been too easy for me to think, well, this happens, which causes this, and the whole story is linear, which gets boring. And this is a chance for us to practice putting that little bit of intrigue into the storyline.
I think my favorite part of that kind of misunderstanding there is it gives us a chance, like you mentioned, to explore Vanessa a little bit more in a way that we might not be able to otherwise, because she believes she's being put into a certain situation that she's not actually in, but we get to see how she would respond in that situation, with which, if she had just understood the reality of it the whole time, we would never have been able to see how she reacts. And I think, based on what we know about her character and what that situation is, it does give us a really interesting look into her beliefs and her actions on a broader scale. So that's what we have been learning about our characters through our writing. Our question for you today is, what is an example of some of that similar misunderstanding or misdirection in a book? Let us know in the comments, and we will see you next week.